Hello, friends. Today we shall understand how to write an analytical paragraph based on a given outline, data, chart, cues, or any other keywords. What is exactly an analytical paragraph? Let's understand this. Now, analytical paragraph means to analyze a given data or to analyze certain things which are provided, and then you write a paragraph based on the data that is provided to us. Now, we don't exactly copy the analytical paragraph, or we don't exactly copy the data that is given to us or provided to us, but rather we try to interpret it in a better way. We try to develop the structure of a graph. We try to develop and explain and reason out a chart. We try to support it in the form of writing, in the form of explanation. This may come out in a form of a long paragraph or in a short paragraph, but the exact data which is given in a graph, in a chart, in a map or anything is not copied, because we are trying to explain the whole thing. So the complete data or the gist has no relevance, but rather explanation with different vocabulary plays a role in analytical paragraph. Now, instructions. Now, when we are trying to introduce analytical paragraph, the introduction should very clearly mention and state what we are trying to describe. So, the introduction of a graph or introduction of a pie chart or an introduction of uh, keywords to form a paragraph should clearly tell us the beginning of the analytical paragraph. Suppose we can explain it that the given pie chart represent the population of a particular place, or we can write the bar graph explains the sell out or the selling of a certain products in the market, or we can also begin with this chart represents. So likewise we can begin an analytical paragraph. And then we come to the body or the main content. We have to explain the graph, or we have to explain the comparative analysis of a given bar graph, or we can just explain a pie chart with a percentage. So the body can vary with the data that is provided to us, but we have to stick on with the data. We have to just be very little careful that we are not going to add on our emotions into it, or our thinking or our values into it, because we are representing or we are explaining a graph devoid of what our emotional factors are with that. So we are just explaining the correct thing in a correct form. Conclusion as such, it doesn't have much relevance, but we can summarize the whole thing in one or two lines. So an analytical paragraph is a whole content of what the data represents. Paragraph writing can be on a bar chart, it can be placed on a line graph, it can be on a table provided to us, it can represent at a pie chart and we can explain that. It can be flown down as a flow chart, it can take a formation of a diagram, it can be have a map formation, or we can just be provided with keywords and we have to explain those keywords. So in the coming slides, we'll understand how this comes out to be. Now let's understand the key things that we should keep in mind while we are writing a data interpretation or an analytical paragraph. When we are writing an analytical paragraph, we should begin or introduce our paragraph in a manner which tells us whether we are representing a bar graph, or we are talking about for keywords, or we are talking about a pie chart, or it's just a graph. and the gist of the data and subject should be clearly explained, and it should be clearly understood by the person who is reading this. An analytical paragraph is a replica of figures and percentages, or as I said earlier, it's a replica or a representation of your graph, your keywords, your bar graphs, or your any figure that you want to represent. It's for a layman to explain the whole thing to another layman so that it is clear what the data tells all about. Now, one needs to present the language skills in this, because the language is should be very simple. It should be descriptive. It should not have complexities. It should not complicate the whole thing, and mathematical representation should be minimal, because we are representing a mathematical expression. That is, we are telling a mathematical expression. We are trying to explain the mathematical data. So what is the need of adding on mathematical expressions? We can add figures, we can explain those figures, we can use figures in our data or a paragraph, but too much of it should be refrained. Now, answer should, whatever the paragraph represented, the answer should be very simple. It should contain limited or minimal words, and the data that is to be explained should be done in a very precise, detailed manner. One thing that we have to keep in mind is a grammatical analysis, or the grammatical analysis, because the same words shouldn't be reused again and again, like decrease, decrease, decrease. Rather, we can use it that declined, or fall, or reduced, decreased, descended, or increased, another way, ascending, rise, um, shot up. So such words can be used in different ways. Therefore, a person should be grammatically sound, and with no errors when you are using these paragraphs for as a data representation. Okay, now when we are using those the vocabularies, as I said, that we have to have a good content and a good pocket and bag of vocabulary, because it's not just a bar chart, or it's not just a pie chart, or it's not just a graph, but we are going to use this vocabulary for various purposes. So upwards we can have, downwards we can have adjectives, we can have adverbs, we can have steady adjectives. Now, as I said in the previous slide, that grow, leap, rise, peak. Now again, you have downwards, decline, fall, back down, descend, adjective, drastic, dramatic, tremendous, rapid, shot up, rising, drastic, dramatic. So likewise, we can have many other words, and apart from these given vocabulary, we can add on many more to it. Now, while we are writing and giving a layout of all these paragraphs, we have to be a little careful with the beginning and the ending. The beginning is the introduction of what figures and facts that you're going to represent, and the ending is a summary or the overall representation of what you were trying to interpret in your data analysis. So, it should not be very boring, rather, it should be more interesting when you are comparing things. It should be more interesting in a way when you are representing data, so that the reader or the person who is taking up the data clearly understand what you were trying to tell them, and then that person is clear with the concept. When we are planning to write a analytical paragraph based on graph, bar, pie, or keywords, we have to keep certain things in our mind, like the trend, whether the graph is representing an upward trend, or it is falling down, or what was the scenario in the beginning, what was the state of the graph in the beginning when you started your analytical paragraph, and how has it ended up. Now, we have to understand two things: that how you're representing your graph, bar, pie, or anything. You have to mention the changes that you see over a period of time. It could, the changes you want to mention could be for a very short period of time, but you have to mention that. The changes that you want to represent maybe for a long period of time, that also you have to mention. So in this way, you have to mention out the beginning scenario and the post scenario, and we have to write down and mention the pattern, the change in pattern, though it may be little insignificant, but you have to change and write down the change in pattern with when you are representing it with a place, person, group, or how it has through from the beginning and through the ending, how it has changed its course. Now, the add time phrases is these phrases are used here and there many times without using on repeated basis. We can repeat phrases, phrasal words, but avoid and refrain from using the same things again and again. So therefore, I have given here phrases. Now, when you are taking 5 years, so it is if you have a 2019 and 2020, so you can use between and, so you are representing a time phrase, or if you are using years, so you can use this from this year to that year. In the year 1994, that when you are talking about a particular year, during or over the period of time, and you can represent that year which we are talking about, over the later half of the year, or the century, or the decade, or the period. So you can also use this, your previous years, the year preceding year, or the post years, you can represent into your data. Over the next, past, previous are also time phrases, which is very interesting and important when you are using into your data. Days, weeks, months, decades, all are used, and in fact you can also represent your data with the help of dates, representing with percentages or any other thing. Now, this is an example given to us. Now, here is a recent survey held in 100 schools, aiming to find the best pencil brands used in that school and how do students prefer them. Now, this is a data interpretation of the pencils used. Now, let's begin with this. This graph represents the best pencils used by students of 100 years. You can also start it another way, that this bar graph is a representation of the pencils used by 100 students in in a particular area. Out of more than 3 dozen brands of pencils, we have taken four brands A, B, C, D, namely, and the most popular ones. Now, pencils are most integral and important parts of students in their initial years, and are important stationery item and most popular among the students. So, the forefront, we have a pencil B running ahead with 60. So that's the 60%, which is a maximum, followed by pencil D taking up 20, and grasp of A with 18%, and lagging behind is pencil C. So here it is a representation of pencil A, B, C, D, and we tell them where do they stand. One-fifth of the students favor the brand D, followed by A, while C comes last in the stationery list of students. So the B is the pencil which is in the forefront. Now let's understand the comparison of rural population versus urban population. Now this graph represents 5 years from 2015 to 2019, and on the y-axis we have the percentage. So let's begin with the representation or the illustration or the depiction of the graph of a population of both the areas, rural and urban areas, with a tenure of 5 years. The graph clearly indicates that in 2015 the urban population was very high with 67, slowly and gradually dropping down to 37 in the year 2019, while on the other hand the rural population was around about 37%, which has gradually and steadily risen up from year 2015 to 2019. But here it is a stagnant and a fixed year, the year 2017, where it has shown no difference also. That is, both the urban population and the rural population met at the same record of 50% in 2017. So it is up one for one. It is an upward trend, the urban population, but for the rural population, it is a decline. So we can add on in the concluding paragraph that maybe population from the rural areas migrated to the urban population in search of jobs, in search of education, in search of better living, in search of better prospects. So the population in urban has drastically risen up. Now, here in the bar graph interpretation of different age groups and the state of population distribution. Now, here it says that you have an age group of 18 to 29 years, 30 to 49 years, 50 to 64 years, and 65 years and plus. It clearly states that the population is 100% with an age group of 18 to 19. Rather, there is a slight decline with 97 percentage with the age group of 30 to 49%, and we have 88% representing an age group of 50 to 64, and then we have 73% representing the age group of 65 and plus years. So through this data we can analyze that we have United States have more of youngsters with an age group of 18 to 29 years, and a lesser group of 65 to plus years. And in the end, if you want, you can more add on with your interpretations. Here we have a pie chart representation of a budget of family expenses for a month. Now, here we can see the pie chart has been divided into food, clothing, cosmetics and accessories, and miscellaneous parts. Now, the maximum amount of expenditure is on food, that is, it takes up 39%, followed by clothing, where with the new trends people have taken up with 28%, followed with cosmetics and accessories spending with 21%, and other activities included as miscellaneous comes out to be 12%. So this statistics of 100% of our families per month has been distributed. So in the end, you can write or add on that people are more spending on food and less spending of miscellaneous items. Now, this is a flow chart of extraction of aluminium, where aluminium is extracted from aluminium scrap. Now, here I have represented the flow chart describing the recycling process, but if you want, you can shorten and reduce the number of words used here with a shortened up precise vocabulary. Now this chart explains the stages that the waste and the alloy form of aluminium go through the process of aluminium segregation and then to the final stage of packing. So if you want, you can omit this line. Rather, you can immediately start with the primary process of collecting use this scrap aluminium and then aluminium with impurities. They are segregated into pure aluminium scrap and aluminium with impurities separately. Both the qualities of aluminium are put into different containers, and after they are contained and introduced to different coal furnaces burning at different temperatures and temperatures. And once the metal melts to molten state, the metal contained in pure states container is condensed into different forms. So likewise, if you are keen to describe each and every process in this flow chart, you can do that. Or the other way around, you can segregate that aluminium scrap is divided or separated into a pure aluminium scrap and impure aluminium scrap, and then the pure aluminium scrap is burned down into a furnace which melt down to aluminium ingots and then packed up. Or the impure aluminium scrap is taken to furnace of 1000 plus degrees Celsius, which melts down into pure aluminum ingots and impurities, and then the ingots are packed up and the impurities are disposed of. So it depends upon your language skills how you have want to describe your paragraph and analyze that. Now here we have the construction sector in 2000, and the other one is 2016 in Turkey. This representation is a comparison of both the pie charts, where the agriculture, the government policies, the constructions, the trade, the finances, all the things are divided into two different things, and it has been represented in such a way, in a precise and concise way. If you want, you can elaborate this, you can describe this, you can go forward with more description in an elaborate bigger paragraph. The given figure shows the life cycle of a butterfly. Now, if we are provided with such a diagram, we have to elaborate that, and we have to explain what we see. Now, in the first stage, we can see that the eggs are there. Then it hatches and comes out with caterpillar. Then it forms a cocoon, and then it forms a butterfly. And again, the butterfly runs with the egg formation and completes a cycle and continues with the cycle. So in this way, the representation of the cycle of the life cycle of a butterfly can be done. Now, usually this is a simple way. If you don't want to elaborate this into paragraph to paragraph, we can do that. Now, if we don't want to just sum up with just small concise thing, we want to elaborate it, then we can take it as, in the first phase, a butterfly lays egg, and the eggs hatches and comes out in the form of a caterpillar. And at the time taken, if you want to represent it, if you know and if you're quite aware with the time, you can write that in such and such days eggs hatch out and comes out to be a caterpillar. The caterpillar is black, and or the color representation, if you want to give, you can do that. Then after a few days, the caterpillar emerges from after emerging from an egg, it takes a form of a cocoon stage, which is also called which is called the pupa stage. And after several weeks, this pupa opens up and comes out as a butterfly, and this butterfly again gives lays egg, and like that you can elaborate this and break down into two paragraphs. It's up to us how we have to break it down. Suppose if you are given a word limit of 80 to 100 words, then one paragraph will be sufficient to summarize the whole content. Suppose if you are given with 100 words to 120 words, or even if it is for 100 words, you can break it, but don't go too lengthy with this. Now, here is a bar chart representing the time spent by teenagers or leisure. Nowadays, teenagers are more tech savvy than children used to be 10 years back. So, if you look into this, it shows how they have molded and changed through the years. Now, chess and other indoor games were taken up previously. Now, 9 to 18% of boys and girls in the age group of 13 to 19 years posed their overall cell phones. In the survey conducted recently on some 2,000 students of some leading schools, one government and the other public schools, the following facts were revealed. While the students from public schools spend more of their leisure time in net surfing and talking on cell phones, the government school students spend in watching and talking to their friends. Uh, uh, if you elaborate the whole thing, if you can see that students or children from public schools, maybe they are searching more on the net, because they may have more keenness towards this, while the government representing don't do like that. Now, cell phone addiction, or you can say cell phone take-ups, are more with the public children, or the students of schools representing the public schools, while the cell phone used by government students or children are less. While public school students are not that savvy for talking with their friends, rather the government students or school students are more apt for talking with their friends. So is it just a representation, or you can change the whole complete thing in your own words also? Now we have here another histogram of where it represents a time frame from 1990 to 2010, and it shows the role of youth in establishing peace. So you can divide and explain this according to the years, and then you can also tell the trend that is coming in. You can also explain what happened in 1990, that is, it is 2.5 death rate, and then but in 2010 it has increased to 7.5. So it has a drastically increased, and statistically it is very unfortunate that this has established high. Now along with that, our youth can play a major role in controlling this crime graph. They can contribute towards establishing peace in many ways. They can awaken people towards the necessity of peace, and likewise they can add on many, you can add on many things in this bar graph, but you have to in detail tell each and everything that you represent here. That is what happened in 2000, and then 2005 there was again a slight margin increase. So likewise, you can, if you want, you can describe this and go on with the explanation part.